Well, a lot of people are complaining. I get it. Not a lot of snow in the forecast. We've not seen a lot of snow this year outside of the blizzard we just had in the plains and the mountains. And last year, some of you may be dealing with snow trauma fatigue still. It was a pretty snowless year last year. I get it. I do. But there is some snow in the forecast. We're going to talk about that today. Hey guys, my name is Travis Roberts. Thanks for watching. I'm a former TV chief meteorologist. And if it's not the date that you see above, it means you're watching an old video. Click subscribe, and that way you can get those notifications when these videos come out. But let's jump straight into it. Here we go. We have a risk of heavy snow in many areas over the next week or so. Check this out. This is a neat map from the Climate Prediction Center. We'll start in the east first. Across the Appalachians, they actually have a pretty wide date here. A slight risk of heavy snow from the 6th through the 12th. And I'll show you on the models why I think they're really spreading that out, because there's a couple of chances for snow here, and a pretty big area here across the Midwest, all the way back into the plains from the 6th through the 10th, into the mountains of the West, into the Colorado Rockies, down into the Wasatch, even into parts of Arizona. We're talking about the San Francisco peaks all the way north into the Wasatch and into parts of Idaho and Montana, and then from the Cascades south, even the Sierra. Overall, quiet weather on New Year's Day. We're talking about a few, again, light rain and snow showers here into the Appalachians and a few showers along the Gulf Coast. Other than that, as we move into Tuesday, still relatively quiet. Now, we're watching a system here back across the Southwest. That'll be moving towards the Gulf Coast. It'll bring rain into Texas. Cold air still way up north. And here's our next system moving into the West Coast as we move into Wednesday. That'll bring rain and snow here. And then here's that rain along the Gulf Coast. It starts to expand into parts of even as far east as Florida as we move into Wednesday evening. Now, these two systems a couple of days ago were showing up on the models and trying to merge into a decent snowstorm across the mid-Atlantic. I am totally getting sold that that's not going to happen over the last couple of model runs for the last couple of days, as this system is really being suppressed to the south. I still think we see some light snow showers around the Great Lakes, down through the Appalachians, and that rain moves across Florida, and this really waits until it gets offshore to bomb out and then really develop off the coast. It's going to bring some snow, light snow into New England. But if you're here, I would definitely keep an eye on it. We're looking down the road into Friday, and then here comes our next system into the Southwest. That'll bring some snow, even potentially some snow into parts of Kansas, maybe even the panhandle of Oklahoma, North Texas, and that will move east. And another system moving into the west. It's relentless here. Another round of rain and snow for Northern California, Oregon, and into the mountains. Now, this is where things get really interesting. We're going to dive into the east and the southeast here, into the mid-Atlantic, heading into next weekend. This is the afternoon European model run, a little warmer than the GFS, which I'm going to show you in just a moment, keeping things mostly rain. Kind of interesting to see that. I don't know that I'll buy into that. I'm not so sure that if this system deepens enough that we don't see some snow here, but it's interesting that there's not a lot of cold air out there to generate these snowstorms. What's really interesting is once this is gone, if we don't get anything out of it, look at this system here, potentially bringing some heavy snow into parts of the northern plains. Now, we are looking now at next Tuesday. I'm not talking about a few days from now. We're 9-10 days down the road here. Now, looking at the GFS, it handles things quite a bit differently than what the European showed. It actually takes a piece of that energy north into the northern plains, bringing some snow here. The southern system, it kind of splits, and really what happens, it transfers the low pressure to the east coast as the system moves east, and that brings kind of a mix to the mid-Atlantic with some snow, possibly sleet, freezing rain. And you can tell that because look how you get this warm air that's moving up here in the Ohio Valley into the lowlands of West Virginia and southern Ohio. That would be associated with that southwesterly flow with that first feature, that first low that moves through, and then as low pressure redevelops here, you get snow moving into the mid-Atlantic. So if this plays out, we could see snow into D.C. It's been a while since we've seen something like this really show up, and I don't know that I'll buy into it yet. Into next weekend for the I-95 corridor, does it move into the Northeast? I don't know, but I'll tell you what's interesting is when you look at the ensembles. This is an average of multiple outcomes, and this is sort of the medium down the middle. The ensembles toward the end of next week hinting at the possibility of a little bit of snow there on Thursday, but here comes our weekend system. I'm going to stop it here. This would be Saturday night. It's interesting. Look, remember that warm nose I showed you there, nudging up into the Ohio River? There you go. So that would indicate our system here across the west. And then our surface low developing here off the east coast, bringing that snow into mid-Atlantic, and even expands it a little further to the north and east. And then here comes our next big system for the following week into the Plains states. And I think that means a rush of warm air into the east. So yeah, stormy weather patterns setting up over the next couple of days for sure, and even into the next weeks, I think. Now, looking long term, it's always hard to forecast exactly what's going to happen 2, 3, 4 weeks away, but I'll tell you what's interesting is we don't have a lot of cold air here across Canada. I think that changes. This is looking at the European all the way into the 9th and the 10th, so we start to see some of that colder air building here. we're seeing in the upper levels, we're talking about the stratosphere. We see stratospheric warming happening here. Usually, once you see that, you start to see cold that follows, that disrupts the polar jet, and you start to see that cold not only follow, but move south too. Another reason that it's been so warm, what's been really interesting is we've been pretty warm here in the ocean across the North Pacific, and with that strong Pacific jet, we've just seen a lot of that Pacific maritime air just move across the United States. CMC long-term weeklies indicating that, yeah, we see below average temperatures start to move in, not only here, but even into parts of Canada where, I'm going to back it up to where we are now, it's just baking. So I think some changes are on the way as we head into January. We're already seeing it. You may not think so, but yeah, it's definitely a different weather pattern than what we were looking at even a week or two ago. So that's all I got for now. Again, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do below, and that way you'll get those notifications. I thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day wherever you are.